As I was just saying, Bonnie and I were briefly questioning the worthwhileness of recording our conversations. But I say one day this will prove an invaluable resource for our children to uncover the inner lives of their parents. So,
Or to confirm that they have hereditary insanity.
all right. So, as always, the name of this program is,
Nothing but worrying.
and I'm Lance, and this is Bonnie. And why is that, Bonnie?
Because you came to this marriage with the name Lance, and I came.
No, no. Why is the name of the show Nothing But Worry?
I think it's self-explanatory, dear.
I'm trying not to worry anymore. I'm trying to adopt a quasi Buddhist attitude towards things.
Is that what you scolded me about sending the bi-weekly report of finances?
I just don't want to hear the bad news or the good news, really, you know? So, I'm on a 3-day weekend because they gave me Martin Luther King's Day off. And, little side note on that topic. The guy who was the interim postmaster, between the last guy and whoever's going to be the new guy, is gone. And the new postmaster showed up this week, and lo and behold, it's the guy who was postmaster when we first started there, almost 2 years ago. Started back there almost 2 years ago. So anyway, they had already created the schedule for the holiday week before he got back. And when he got back and found out that they let everybody off, he was not happy. So anyway, he's insisting that they make somebody work, and they're going to just run a certain portion of the mail, blah, 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 blah. And so anyway, I just think it's amusing. But anyway, so 3-day weekend, and I'm just about to pass out. I've had maybe 2 hours of sleep, in the past 24 hours.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell it is with you. What? You need to get off the caffeine altogether.
Maybe so. I've been thinking about that. Well, why don't you tell the victim, the listeners, all
Thursday,
all about what happened with our kid.
our daughter had to go get her wisdom teeth taken out. It did not go well. She was back in the bag for 3 hours. I can't tell you how many times I nearly fell asleep. I kept thinking, what the hell is going on? They finally called me to the back, and she's beside herself. She is just, her entire face is swollen. Her lips are like 2 or 3 times the normal size. She's got these bloody bandages hanging out of her mouth. She's drooling. She's in tears. She can't speak. She's making the gesture to scribble. I give her some paper and pen, and she said, I'm fully alert, and I'm in complete agony. So I called the doctor back in. I'm like, she's never handled pain well at all. So something's got to be done. They gave her a shot then and there. Number one, she felt it. Even after being numbed and under, she felt the fucking shot.
Oh.
And she tasted it, and it was bitter. And she was in misery. Ends up, one of her wisdom teeth was seated inside the sinus cavity. It had grown all the way up there. So, it was a lot longer of a procedure than it should have been. They get her into a wheelchair. I managed to hobble out to the car, cane in hand, come around. She could barely get in the car, close the door. I've got the heat blasting because the doctor's office was freezing. I had on a full outfit plus a puffy coat and woolen mittens, and I was cold. I was thoroughly cold. She was freezing, so I sat there for a couple of minutes in the car, just blasting the heat. I got on the phone with her boyfriend, Andrew. I said, I need help. What do you need? I need help getting her up the stairs. So, he got there at her house as soon as I got there. He managed to get her up the stairs. And then I said, can I ask another favor? They had to change her antibiotic because of the way that the thing had gone up into her sinus cavity. I said, can you go and get that? So 45 minutes later, he returns with her meds. At this point, I've managed to get some hydrocodone and some ibuprofen 600 into her. And she's leveled off. But she's fully conscious through all this. I mean, however, when I get put under later on, I don't really remember anything. Nope. Whatever it was, they did not count on it. They did not handle it well because she's got full memory. And I stayed over there for the better part of the day, afternoon rather. Then Andrew came over and took over after I left. She has a strap that goes all the way around her head, from the chin all the way to the top of her head. It's got little pouches for putting ice packs in. And the cat's been trying to tear it off of her. The best thing possible was having the cat just curl up with her because that's her emotional crutch. And then Andrew brought over hot soup, and she was able to get a little bit of it down.
Mm.
And then he fed soup to the cat. So the cat was very content.
Yeah. So anyway, Bonnie had to spend most of that day with her.
It was really funny because I got there and I said, this isn't negative about Andrew. I said, I know why Lance doesn't do this for me. He doesn't have the patience. I mean, I have to twist an arm to get Lance to show up, to take me home from something. I said, I understand, why your father doesn't do this, but why didn't Andrew help out? She said, because you know how to talk to doctors and how to get information and that sort of thing. I'm like, okay. All right. Okay. So I'm thinking maybe the rest of my life I'm going to be momming both of them.
Oh, yeah.
When their partners aren't. Because, admit it, I've mommed you for years. Especially post-op from all your surgeries and procedures.
Yeah.
I remember.
You took over a good portion of my life.
Oh, noes!
I wouldn't know what to do about paying bills and stuff. I don't know what's what and which what.
You don't even know what utilities we pay, do you?
No, not really. I know we pay like a pittance for the place next door. What is it, $25 a month for the place next door? Yeah.
But do you even know what utilities we pay?
Well, water, power, I guess the phone bill, whatever that would be.
Internet, yeah, it comes with the phone.
Right, and
that's it.
Right. The old place would pay gas as well.
Yeah, I had a gas stove over there, and then they switched from propane to natural gas for the heating.
But also the heater, the so-called central heating in the place was gas, and because it was so hot in the summer, I would blow the pilot light out just to have a little less heat.
And it would take forever.
And then when the winter comes, you got to relight it. It's a pain in the ass.
There were a couple times I had to call them to come over and do it. Yeah, that place was half the size, and we paid $250 for the electricity. We're right under $300 for this place. Plus, we had at least $50 a month for the gas. More in the winter.
But you remember, when the kids were little, we still lived over there, and I was working nights at the post office. And I would sleep in the day, but that back bedroom we installed a window unit air conditioner, so it would be like an icebox in there, and the rest of you guys were sweating in the rest of the house because the window unit in the living room couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
and it was just leaking everywhere. There
I
were so
can't
many
tell you.
holes in the floor of that place.
Oh my God, it was terrible. It was 74.
I don't know. They moved
It.
that thing in like
I've got the title over
1980,
here.
but so maybe they bought a used one. I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I thought it was all brand new when they moved it in.
But then it burned, and your father had to rebuild it.
Yeah.
So that added to the thing. It just, oh God. Your
Why?
grandparents' place was terrible. It really was.
Why did he do that?
Your
What?
dad?
Yeah, I mean,
He did whatever Jane told him to do. It was part of the misery of his life.
I can't imagine doing all that work for that place.
It was
Because I
terrible.
remember him doing that, and I remember I remember going in there after it was burned. It was horrible.
How many houses did your grandparents burn down?
2 or 3.
Cigarettes every time?
I don't know how, but
That place was a cigarette in a trash can. The place before I thought was also a cigarette in a trash can.
it may have been. I think
And then I don't know what the other cause was.
it's weird not having my mother around anymore to ask.
Well, last 10 years she didn't know anyway.
Yeah,
Come to
but
find out, your granddad, her father was from Texas?
um,
I think it was Texas.
yeah. She also mentioned that he lived in Florida for a while, which I never knew. But she told us this story about her father, my grandfather. He got shot. I might have told this story on the show before. He was an alcoholic, and he had to stay a little bit drunk all the time. Just sipping on beer all the time or whatever, wine. And when my mother was like, I guess somewhere around 18, 19, 20, something like that, he came home drunk but went to the wrong house and tried to get in. And the people inside got scared and shot him, like in the leg or something. And my mother and a friend of hers had just come back from swimming at some lake, so they were in bathing suits or short pants or something, and they had to drive him all the way to Athens where the hospital was. It was St. Mary's, the Catholic-run hospital, and she said the nuns were chiding them for coming out in public dressed like that.
Yeah, she said she was wearing shorts over her swimsuit or something.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So that's the difference between your family and my family. Both sides of my family did not swim in lakes, did not swim in creeks. They'd go to the ocean. And I don't know if it was just the polio thing, but their thing is they'd go to the ocean. They'd go to the ocean. Like, you went to Florida, you swam in the ocean. You didn't swim in the pond, in the creek, or whatever. The most they ever did was my granddad would put on waders and go down to the Flint River and do his archaeology and come back with tons of, fossilized shark's teeth and other things.
I remember either with the Boy Scouts or some church trip or something, there was a pier out in the middle of this lake at is there a place? Is Unicoi? Something like that. Some state park. I remember going out there, and all those boys jumped off the pier into the lake, and it was just unbelievable, clean, freezing cold water.
Really?
Yeah, it was just beautiful, and the pier was so old that it had like bright green moss or lichen or whatever growing on it.
When we were growing up, our parents, my mother's, and her husband would send us off to church camps.
Mm-hmm.
So we would go to lakes around here at the state parks. And we would do canoeing and, just rafting and things like that on rivers. So it was different when I was growing up. It was safer. You can do things like that. But Lake Lanier, did you read that article I sent you about Lake Lanier?
Yeah.
It was, all of the lakes here in Georgia are man-made. They're all dammed
All the
up.
big ones anyway. Yeah.
And the only ones of any note are dams. And it was because they did hydroelectric dams back in the 30s, 20s, 30s on. And Lake Lanier was just creeks. And when you look at the lake, it's just a multitude of fingers off of this one section where all these creeks come together Then they all backed up, but there were towns, and they sunk towns like they did with the TVA. And the coolest thing about that article was they had underwater images of a bridge. It was one of those tension bridges that has the wires, so you would see the swoop of each arc as it went up in the air, and
I
it was
don't
still
understand.
attached.
Why did they demolish all that stuff before they dammed
I
up
don't
the?
know. They also covered over Indian mounds.
But didn't the article also say that all that shit was a boating hazard?
It is a major boating hazard. It's led to all these myths about the place, the place being haunted, ghost of people who've died in it, and the ghost of all the people that were in graveyards. There's an entire black community that was sunk to the bottom, and there was no proper restitution given. And people just lost everything. When we were growing up, my mother was married to her husband. We would go up to Tennessee and Virginia. And one of the trips, I don't know why, we went up to this area and we all got out, and her husband took us over to this edge and he says, "You see that water over there? That is where my family used to live. And they got a pittance to be removed and moved to the city. So all of them were forced out."
Well, I don't know what extensiveness your family's vacations were like, but ours were shitty. Just always. We never did anything of any grandiosity. But one year, like this must have been 7th into 8th grade, I think, we went to Washington, D.C. And I think it was like a 2-week trip. But what pissed me off at the time, and still does when you think about it, so we're in Washington, D.C. You got all these free monuments, all these free museums, and this is 1983, something like that, too. So I'm like, this is great. Look at all the... It was just having a ball going to these museums and seeing all this cool stuff. Well, no, we have to truncate the trip. That's only a few days. We're going to spend the entirety of the rest of the vacation slowly traveling in a big arc up through the Tennessee mountains and down.
Through the Carolinas.
Just wasting time. It was just so stupid. And we stopped in at my mother's brother's place in North Carolina.
Bragg.
Yeah, Fort Bragg. And I was so furious about the whole thing that I said out loud, "Yeah, we spent like 3 days in Washington, D.C., and the rest of the time just drag ass in a big waste of time, just driving for the sake of driving. We ran out of clothes. In the middle of the night, we had to stop at some rat hole town and go to a laundromat on that laundromat. Unbelievable. And it just pissed me off. Why did my parents do shit like that? And
They never planned anything, and it was manifest in all the different houses they burned through. 5, 6, 7, 8 houses. I don't even know how many houses they had.
And I'll tell you what else.
Because even after they got a divorce, she stayed, and he went through 1, 2, 3 houses after having lived in an RV for a while and somewhere else.
Well, look, and all the schemes that they
The
tried.
money-making schemes.
Okay, I remember being really, really little, and my dad getting into Amway, and we had all this unsold Amway cleaning products and shit around the house. And I was like, at the time, like, where did all this come from? Well, your dad's selling Amway. What's that? Oh, they make cleaning products and shit. Whatever. 50 years later, you come to find out, no, it's a Ponzi scheme run by, people who manipulate Christians.
That's the thing. Everybody knew it was a Ponzi scheme then. At one point, my mother and her husband went to some kind of thing, and they signed up for something, and she looked it over, and she goes, you're taking this stuff back and you're telling them we're not paying for this. I mean, it was just, you're gonna do it. This is nonsense. As he thought, oh, you can get rich, get
Who
rich.
was this now?
Her husband.
Oh, okay. Did it really?
And whereas my dad always had enough sense, you know.
You and I had just gotten married, and I was working in that convenience store. This guy comes in. You know, you remember what the salesman looked like that sold us Peter's car? That
Sleazoid.
it's like
Yeah.
ex-alcoholic or whatever.
Yeah, he has
This guy comes in.
Narcotics Anonymous written all over him.
The guy who's turned his life around through the Bible. Anyway, so this guy comes in the convenience store and he's like, "Yeah, I've seen you in here a couple times. What's going on? Or what kind of person are you?" Or, and I'm like, "Well, yeah, obviously, this job is insufficient, you know." So he's, "Well, meet me at McDonald's tomorrow morning, and I'll buy you a cup of coffee, and I'll tell you about a great opportunity." So, so I meet him like an idiot, and he writes on a piece of paper Amway, and he passes it over to me, and I'm like, "This. How do I get the fuck out of here as fast as possible without totally shitting on this guy's hopes? I'm not doing this. I'm not a fucking fool."
How'd you get out of it? You remember?
I just said, "No, I have no interest in this." "Well, think about it, and coffee's on me." "Well, thank you so much for this wonderful McDonald's coffee. I'm just thrilled."
49 cents later. You're
Oh
out
my
the door.
God. So anyway, but
Christ.
I'm talking about all the schemes my parents went through.
Your dad was doing it
He
after
raised
retired.
he raised cattle for a little while.
Remember the vacations and the vitamins?
Well, I don't remember all that, but I remember him. He was
Oh, real estate.
going to try to be a real estate
He got his
salesman.
real estate license. And he went to work for Guy, or one of the guys here in, we have a lot of guys named Guy in this county for some reason. One of the guys. And he didn't sell a thing. Not one damn place.
Well, he wasn't doing that very long, but I had another one of those schemes in mind. I remember one time, it was like a Sunday evening, and we didn't go to church or something, so everybody's available to walk outside and just look at the stars. You could do that in those days.
Oh yeah, this is hilarious.
Well, anyway, see, he's looking at the staring at the tree, and I walk up and he goes, "Let me ask you something. How would you like it if we adopted a little girl?" And I'm like, "Well, this is like out of the blue." And I'm like, "Well, I guess that'd be kind of cool. What room would she get?" He goes, "Oh, she wouldn't come live with us. We would just send her $10 a month for her food and
Sally
education."
Struthers or
Oh
something like that.
my God Almighty!
Okay. There was somebody he worked with at the PO. He was friends with her. And they would like talk on the phone. And she would constantly get him into these multi-level marketing schemes. Do you remember her?
I think
And
I know what you're talking
At the
about. Yeah.
end, after he retired, the real estate came about because he couldn't make the money selling the vacation schemes and the vitamin things that she
Well,
had
not only-
foisted on him.
But not only that, there was the time
The
that
Rotary?
my parents were still together and planning on living together, until they died and all that. And they're making plans to retire and all this shit. What are you going to do? What are we going to do?
Oh, the bus.
And well, my mother telling me, "Well, this is an idea we have. Your father will get a bus driver's license and will drive a tour bus, and he'll be the driver and I'll be the tour guide." Now, can you imagine
Your
my
mom?
mother as a tour guide on the bus? Now, everyone, it's so good to see her. If you've ever seen Jan Hooks at the Alamo in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, you'll know what I'm talking about.
But combine that with Grandpa Simpson. That reminds me of a story. I had an uncle
Well, what-
that had a house that looked like that one over there. No, not that one over
Well, wait a
there.
minute. I can imagine.
Oh, my God.
Go like
She would've been
say
terrible.
there's the tour is through some I don't know, famous section of some city, and there's a famous place where there was a brothel. Okay,
Yeah,
and
Ventura.
she's saying, oh, over here's the legend, the place where they used to unload the railroad trains, and over there, well, we don't really talk about that place. So now, if you look on the other side of the road, I just, oh my God.
Oh, it would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
It would have been the worst thing ever. A friend of mine in college got a job working for the Savannah Historic Society, and I went down to visit, and it was a great visit because she had landed a whole house for the summer from one of the sorority sisters, and so we had the whole house to ourselves on this golf course, and we had her car, and working at the Savannah Historic Society, she had these free tickets for everything. And so we end up on this little tram thing, and she goes, do you really want to listen? I said, I don't know. So she hands me this tape recorder. You push a button, he goes, over here on the right, you'll see the Juliet Gordon Lowe house. It was
my
built in
God, that's
1804. And I pulled it out, and I said, just tell me about it. As we go by, and everybody else in the tram's like, ooh, ah,
When I was a
yeah.
kid,
Yeah, it was just their expressions, their responses to the tapes that nobody could hear except them.
when I was a kid, there was there were throughout the country there were different wild country stuff. What was it? Wild Lion Safari?
Wildlife.
Lion Country Safari.
Yeah,
That's
there
what it
we
was
go.
called. Anyway, but there was one in Atlanta or near
Yeah,
Atlanta.
Yellow River or something.
I was a little kid. They shut it down long after this, but when you drove in,
Yeah.
you'd roll your window down, and they would hand you one of those big old clunky tape recorder things people used to have back in the old days, and it would have the cassette. Now, if you drive it constant speed of like 12 miles an hour or whatever, and leave the tape on, it'll play at the right pace, and it'll tell you what you're seeing on the other side of the road. Blah blah blah. And I just remember that all of a sudden I haven't thought of that in 50 years.
Well, that reminds me of going to drive-in movies. You would pull up to the place,
yeah.
you'd have the speakers, and I went with Jennifer and her family to a drive-in, and they were all Mormons, and Jennifer was the oldest, and she had like stair-step siblings, like there were like 5 kids in the thing. And we climbed up on top of on the rack, the luggage rack of their station wagon, and sat up there, and we did a double feature with Grease and Saturday Night Fever. And it had been out, for a while at this point. And all the little kids, they had the big back section, and the kids were set up because they went to sleep.
Oh,
And they
okay,
had
yeah.
little pillows and blankets and stuff like that. And the mom and the dad were in the driver's seat in the front. And every once in a while, we'd like run out of something, and the mom would pass up the bottle of soft drink, and we would get our drinks. And they had given us an entire paper bag full of air popped or something popcorn. I don't know, one of those type of things. And it was so much fun.
Now, I'm
But
assuming-
the speaker, when you sat next to it in the car, it made one sound, but on top, you would get the sound of the speakers from everybody.
Right. Well, now I'm assuming that the drive-in you're referring to is the Alps drive-in over there on North Avenue next to Bilo, right?
No.
Okay. Well, that was the one in town for years and years and years. And the thing is, if you just, the grocery store and the shopping center is right here, and then the drive-in was right there. So all you had to do was pull in the parking lot
And you
of the
could see.
Bilo or whatever, and you could see everything and hear everything. We were over there one night, and I was a little kid, and they were playing the Bigfoot movie, where Bigfoot is this killer beast, and this woman is in the
Shower?
she's showering.
She's in the shower?
No, she's showering in the this little waterfall thing.
Oh, okay.
And the Bigfoot's watching her. And, But the funny story about that place is, I've told this story a
What?
1,000 times. Okay, 1977 into 78, Star Wars is the biggest cultural phenomenon in the world. And I'm in 3rd grade, and people are on TV going, I've seen it 8 times. I've seen it 15 times. I've seen it 84 times. And I haven't seen it once. And all the kids at school have seen it multiple times. There's
They can
games and
quote
toys
it.
and shit everywhere. And they bring the little toys to school and all this crap. Okay, and it drove me bonkers. My parents wouldn't take us to go see it. I don't know why. So anyway, finally,
cheap.
it's been out at the theaters so long, it's worked its way down to the fucking drive-in, okay?
Oh, God.
Now, my parents are like, are you interested in going to see Star Wars? Well, yeah. Well, we're going to take you to the drive-in to see it. The first time I'd ever been to the drive-in. All right, so we're sitting there. We had this old Country Squire station wagon. And my sister was up on the luggage rack on the roof. She fell asleep. My dad fell asleep at the steering wheel. My mother fell asleep. I stayed awake through the whole thing because I had to watch this goddamn movie at least once in my life.
Oh my God.
The sound quality was horrible. The image was really dark. When in the scene where C-3PO was wandering through the desert at the beginning, it was like a nighttime scene. You know, but anyway.
It was that poorly lit?
It was horrible, yeah.
Oh my God.
It was years before I saw it on VCR.
Well, my mother started dating her soon-to-be husband when it was out, and he had seen it 19 times. And so we all met. We had lunch at the Morrison's cafeteria or something, and then we walked around the corner and went to the movie theater. And the movie theater was catty cornered in an L shape away from it, and the movie line was almost halfway point between there and Morrison's. And we stood on line, and I think they had every single theater showing it. And it was 6 or 8 theaters in there. And the line just kept wrapping. And we're like, we're not going to be able to see it. And he said, everything's showing. It's all. This was a Sunday after church. And the lines were snaked all throughout the shopping center. And it was wonderful. It was great. But we saw it at the height of it. But he had already seen it. It was either this was going to be his 19th time or he'd seen it 19 times or something.
Well, I remember when Return of the Jedi came out, the mall was open at that point, and they had a movie theater inside the mall.
And you would go down.
When Raiders
into
Lost,
that.
not what am I saying? Not Raiders Lost. Sorry, Return of the Jedi. Is that what I said?
Yeah.
No, it's the third one. When Return of the Jedi came out, they had 4 theaters in there, 4 screens, and I remember we went, our family. And all 4 of them were playing the movie, and the line was down the hallway. And even at that age, I remember being kind of let down because I'm like, I can tell it's not as good. The writing isn't as good as the first 2 movies.
I remember going to movies all over Athens with my dad. I remember one time coming home, we'd gone to see one of the James Bond movies, the one where he goes to Greece. Meets a long-haired chick. They have the underwater car. That thing?
Spy Who Loved Me.
There we go. So, running in, tell my mom, Dad took us to see James Bond movie. She goes, what? She couldn't believe. There's so much sex. And now you're like, no, there's not. No. But, he also took me to see... I thought, Dad, you're treating me like a little kid. He took me to see when they re-released Cinderella? Oh, no, it was Snow White. Snow White. Is that the one with the apple?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I remember
I thought, he's treating me like such a kid, but I really enjoyed it. But he did it because I had a little sister. She really wanted to see it.
Well, I remember taking a date to see Lady and the Tramp when they re-released it, and she thought that was a funny thing that for me to choose. But it
Right?
no, a girl I was dating back.
Okay.
And but at the end, after the movie was over, she
sweet.
was like, "Yeah, that was really nice. It was good, to see it on the big screen like that."
Yeah, when we were growing up, they had the whole Walt Disney thing thing where you would watch it on Sunday nights? Well, we would anyway. You guys wouldn't.
No, we never got to see them.
And
You wouldn't
so
believe
it was like being at my grandmother's house. You would just, she's like, oh, we're gonna start. She would start 7 o'clock on Sunday night, and we would watch until 1 o'clock in the morning, and there would be like Kolchak on at midnight or something.
Well,
and it was always fun because you knew you could always watch trash in the morning, trash at night.
well,
'Cause you had to
I
watch your stories,
remember
too.
several times when I was going to the church up the road as a kid, these old ladies saying, "It's such a shame they put that family, wholesome family show Walt Disney World on a Sunday night when everybody has to be in church."
Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit.
Oh my God.
Yeah, my mother and her husband tried that bullshit of dragging us off every single time for a while. And after a while, they got tired of driving all this distance twice a day to go to the same church and for a big nothing. So we would just stay home on Sunday nights.
Bonnie
I know.
mocks me for remembering all these goddamn stupid, trivial stories from my childhood and youth. But I remember everything when I just really sit down and think
You're a
about it.
resentful bastard, you know.
Oh my God. And
Hold on to so much animosity.
I think it's one of the reasons I'm about half crazy is because I can remember every
Half?
stupid, embarrassing thing that I've done in my life where I've made a fool of myself or I've hurt somebody's feelings sometimes you're just going about your day.
Or the things that your
Going about
parents
your
do to
day.
embarrass you. Like
And then-
your dad and his brother and their stupid singing belly.
Yeah.
So tell
But-
them about it. Tell them about it.
I will, just a second. I forgot the concrete example I was about to give. Anyway, all right. So this whole story, the totality of it is what's horrible. All right. I had stopped going to church at this point, but apparently they had some talent night at church or something. Well, my dad and his brother, they painted their chests like faces with their nipples as these big blue eyes. And they made giant construction paper or cardboard top hats that they put their arms up into, okay? And then they had choreographed this dance routine where they blew their bellies out in and out to this pre-recorded tape of this something whistling song, right? And they filmed this, okay? And my dad had a copy of the videotape. Now, just knowing and seeing that this was done was embarrassment enough. But one night, I caught my dad showing this fucking tape to my high school girlfriend. I come in the room like, what the fuck are you doing? Oh my God. How horribly embarrassing.
He made Rhonda watch that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Rhonda, who was my
You know what?
little sister.
You know what? I wonder if it was her or my ex.
College.
Yeah, now that I think about it, it must have been.
The college chick.
Well, yeah.
It could have been both.
It could have been either one.
It could have been both.
It could have been either
Lance.
one.
Oh my God. Yeah, your dad took to calling Peter Buddy or something for a while. Wanted to give him a nickname. We're like, no.
Nicknames should arise organically, not I am going to find a nickname for you.
No. No.
This weather is horrible. It's making my skin itch, and I'm just tired of scratching it all the time because it's starting to hurt.
You having your leg up reminds me of the time that your dad called me and had me come over, and he had had an accident at the house next door.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to dig concrete out of his leg. I had to clean the concrete out. I had to shave around it so that he was so hairy. I had to shave around so I could put bandages on it. It was just... But he called me to come do it.
I have become.
And I told him, I said, you need to go see a doctor and get on antibiotics. A couple days later, he calls me and goes, you were right. I had to go to the doctor and get antibiotics. I said, so what happened? Pus and fever? He goes, sure enough. I said, I told you this was going to happen.
Sure enough, he sounds like a Green Acres character.
Yeah.
Look, I have become so hairless as I've gotten older.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, when I had to do debridement of that wound, there was nothing hairless about your old man's legs.
Yeah, I just. Yeah.
I had to send Jane. She could barely look at it. I had to send her. I said, go get me a razor, a clean razor. She comes back. I said, where's the lid? She goes, well, it's just one I was using. I said, no, I need a
One I was
clean
using.
razor. A brand new disposable razor, please. I need to remove the hair. You know, like,
I
oh
was
my God.
trimming my treasure trail, and
God, don't say things like that about your own mother, for God's sake.
do you remember? I'll tell you where I first heard that term. I don't know. It was some late night show. I don't think it was MTV, but Moon Zappa was on there with somebody, and she's just talking and talking, and she says something about treasure trail. Now, you know what that is, right? And the other person's like, no. She's like, it's a trail of hair that leads from your belly button down to your pubic region or something like that.
Oh my God.
And it's like, when I still think Moon Zappa's sexy as hell, and but I was like, oh my God, she's really sexy for saying that.
And my response was, hair all the way to your, oh my God, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, I can't imagine being that furry. Christ.
And it works for women or men. There are examples of both.
Oh my God. Oh my fucking God.
Cynthia Heimel, the writer,
Oh my God.
he used to have write a column for Playboy magazine called
And Village Voice.
On Women or something. And she said one of the columns was what men don't know about women, and she said we are much more hairy than you think we are because we keep it rigorously trimmed back. Oh my God, it's
That
so
was
funny.
hilarious. The other day, I'm watching something, and this woman puts her hands over her head, and she's got fur under her arms, and I went, "You're not a French woman. Why are you doing this?"
It's a movement
I
now.
know,
And here's the
but
funny,
how do you keep from
there are so many
nasty?
people on the planet now that sheer demographic or sheer percentages mean that any viewpoint, any lifestyle is now available. We don't want to shave anywhere, even though we're women.
What is it? The Sikh movement doesn't allow, or the Jan movement or something doesn't allow cutting of hair.
The men can't cut their hair or something, and
Well, the
they
women
keep it up in a
can't
turban.
either. And so they have body hair. And a while back, I saw this article on either New York Times or BBC, and this woman had a beard. And she said, it's just the way that I am. I have hair grow, and because of our religion, I don't shave my beard or remove it in any way. And I thought, I would leave a religious movement of that. They got a restriction on me. Oh my fucking God. She had on a full, goatee kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even, it was like the kind that 17-year-old boys have, where it hasn't quite come in completely, but
Right,
it's still
yeah.
there. I was like,
See,
oh,
until I was getting old, middle age, essentially, I never would grow a beard because I knew I couldn't possibly do it properly. When I was 16, 17 and started shaving, I was so absolutely ashamed to turn up anywhere with Peach Fuzz because I thought it was so
your father
embarrassing.
even grow a beard?
He claims he can't, but you never understand. Right? He tried growing a mustache when I was about in first grade or so, and my mother hated it. She just hated it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh God!
I wasn't.
We have pictures of him.
That's hilarious. I wasn't sure how Peter would turn out because you have these partial beard because you've got some kind of Native American Indian from your father's line. And so I didn't know how Peter would turn out because my dad's family, the men just hair, hair, hair. Oh my God, hair. There's this one picture of my granddad down at Warner Robins Air Force Base, and he's getting some kind of award. He's got on a short sleeve shirt, and this is probably the 60s, 70s, and below the short sleeve, there's just fur. All the way down, not all the way down his arm. No, it's across the top of his fucking hands. It's like, oh my God.
For some reason, you saying that reminded me of something. You and I are so old that we remember a time when everything wasn't just automatically air conditioned. I remember,
Yeah.
like even at like some kind of gathering, where today it would be in a climate controlled environment, it being in just a great big warehouse with some stand up fans going and the door open. With you got some guys with a person speaking to a bunch of people in folding chairs from a microphone, you know?
I remember another thing was the fans. There was this whole industry, especially among funeral homes.
If you've been to a tent revival, is that what you're getting at?
No, I'm talking about funeral homes. But you would go into grocery stores and other places, and one of the things that you could get for free were hand fans.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a giant popsicle stick, a wooden stick, and it had staples with a paper cardboard kind of
It
fan.
would be an ad for
and
something.
It would have an advertisement for the funeral home, the grocery store,
Well, yeah.
the pharmacy. It would have all your convenient numbers that you could call. And you would just be sitting somewhere. It was just like, oh my fucking God. A number of years ago, you and I went to Rome, and it was during the summer, and there were no air conditioning in the stores, in the library. I mean, the library was like, there was minimal air conditioning. It was insane.
Their air conditioner was broken, they told me. But yeah, I remember going to a tent revival down in Lexington in 1977. It was a great big like circus type tent. Sawdust all over the arena area. And then folding chairs all through the thing. And each folding chair had on it a hand fan with like, the local funeral home and some, we wish you a happy 1978 or whatever. And everybody would fan themselves while the guy was preaching.
Oh, yeah. I remember now. They had fans that would come with the annual calendar on, on them.
That's right.
Oh, my God. And then sponsored by such and such script shop.
That kind of ephemera is unknown today.
When I was in college, I worked at a bank. And there was a guy there. He was on the board of directors, but he was our PR guy. And he would all the time come over and he would say, okay, if somebody comes up to you and they have such and such type of account, usually it was a high yield savings account, or if they're opening a such and such account or whatever, he said, you are to hand them one of these as a token. And it would be keychains, keychains with lights, and then bank bags, and specialty, like coin purses and things like that.
I was about to mention those little vinyl which you pinch and they would open. Yeah.
And he'd go, these cost the bank money. So we want to make certain our best customers get them, okay? And I ended up working in every department at that bank. And so there was always something. He'd come in once a month to the customer service reps and he'd go, okay, we've got these specialty things today. And we're doing free t-shirts. And if the kids come in, we're doing balloons on such and such day. You have them come down to family day. And, they just don't do things like that anymore.
I would love to have one of those little, I guess, vinyl or polyurethane coin purse things.
You would squeeze it.
You would squeeze it. It would open up like a Muppet's mouth.
Yeah.
It would hold maybe 30, 40 cents worth of change, but it would have sort of almost like an enamel painted on the top of it. Courtesy of the local bank. Savings is the good thing to do, or whatever.
Yeah, and some of them had a little bitty hole at the end where you could
Right.
slide
Right.
a chain,
Right.
like you have for your dog tags.
That's right.
You
That's
would have a
right.
chain that you would attach, and it would have like one of those rings for a key ring thing.
When you looked at this thing end on end, it looked like a puckered fish mouth on either end. You know.
Yeah. I forget what all we would do, but there would be specialty things that we would sponsor. And he was the one that would. I remember my first year working at the bank, I was 17, and he comes up, he goes, I want all of you pretty girls down at the Chamber of Commerce meeting. It's just right after work. You come on down. It's at such and such bank, and make certain you put your lipstick on. You come in and you talk to everybody. And you tell them where you're at. You wear your name badge, and ladies, there's free drinks for everybody. And don't you worry, if you're underage, they won't mind.
Oh my God.
I'm not kidding you. You know, I dated his son for a while.
Yeah.
And it's funny, his son's now on the board of directors too.
Speaking of ephemera, a couple of days ago, this lady I work with, she said, we've both been with the post office a long time. And she said, how many postmasters do you think you've worked with? And I said, well, I don't know, a lot. I said, but I'll tell you, the first one that I ever worked for, there used to be this place called the Chase Street Annex. And this must have been, it was Christmas Eve or something like that. And I was working nights over there. And the postmaster at the time showed up in the middle of the night with this little flunky. And he was this really tall, sort of buck-toothed guy who had this demeanor like, I am so superior to you. It was like meeting the Duke of Kent or something, you know. So anyway,
Inbreeding, huh?
So anyway, they called a fire drill all of a sudden. And in those days, you only had maybe 20 employees working at night at a time, maybe 30. So they had us all go outside for the fire drill. And when we came back in, there was a guy dressed up like Santa Claus, and he was like, ho, 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 want to wish you Merry Christmas from the post office. And then they had everybody line up. And then the postmaster, followed by the flunky with this great big bag he was holding, went down the line, shaking people's hands and going, and the flunky would come behind him and go, he would reach in the bag and pull out this little, piece of shit keychain with a motto printed on it. And he would go, the postmaster wishes you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. The postmaster wishes you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. It was so fucking
And that was
stupid.
all paid for on the taxpayer dime, too. He would just order X number for his employees.
Yeah, and the keychain said something like, let's all have a safe 1988 or whatever.
At the bank, we got profit sharing, and we got a Christmas bonus. Except that year that Glenn went and fucked up the books and carried some losses, and the FDIC came in. But we would get Christmas bonuses. But the big thing was we would get Christmas parties. And it was known that they would have a full bar. And this is a university town, so when you say full bar, I mean, that thing was stacked high. They had open bar. They had mixers. They had the blenders and stuff. And you showed up, you dressed to the nines, you drank, you hoped you could get home. I cannot tell you how many times I left those parties over the limit. But
Wait a minute, wait. Now, I know this is sort of
yeah,
confessional. Now, how many times do you think you've driven drunk in your life?
at least half a dozen.
Yeah, okay. I just
Not as
wondered.
many as you.
No, I've driven a
One night
drunken
I spun
drive.
out on a bridge over a river. And I curtailed it after that because there was river. There was river on both sides.
Yeah.
And I was lucky there was 5 lanes across this bridge. Or was it 4 at the time? And I got damn lucky.
I know, me too.
We did some stupid things at those parties. Like taking home what's his name, so. son. Yeah, that's when I started dating that guy's son. But
Yeah, a
it
long time
just
ago, I
office parties
read.
used to be standard.
Yeah, I remember a long time ago reading something about drugs and alcohol or whatever, and it said something about in the early days of an individual's drinking, if he's really inclined to be an alcoholic, he may find alcohol to be a source of like almost magical power. He's able to
Social lubrication.
do things that he has never done or just wouldn't normally do.
That was you.
Yeah. Um,
You are normally a misanthrope at a lot of different levels. You don't like speaking to complete strangers. You hate the social niceties of hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? You just don't engage in small talk. But when you drink, whoop, it's out the door.
yeah, but what irritates me about it is I would say stupid things, and it just even at the time you're like, oh God, I sound like an idiot.
Well, sweetie, you do that when you're stoned too.
But anyway, I remember one time my friend lived on the upper story of one of these quadplex type things. Got two
Two up,
units on
two
the
down.
bottom and two on the top. Well, anyway, these I used to go over there and get drunk all the time, and I had all my empty liquor bottles I would put on their back porch, and the pile got bigger and bigger and bigger, taking up the whole porch.
Is this the place off Berlin?
Yeah. So anyway, at the unit across from the little passageway, these couple of girls lived in there, and they moved out, and we were over there drinking. I was like, I wonder if how much stuff they left behind, like in the refrigerator or whatever. So I swung out in space and popped through the window. I mean, I had reached out and pulled the window up on the unit and swung out and popped into the apartment and unlocked the door for everybody. We went in and got like a bottle of wine out of the refrigerator and a Billy Joel cassette. And but I think looking back, I'm like, how did I do that drunk?
Damned if I know. You can barely walk in a straight line most days. You're so tired and broken.
Oh God.
The things we did in our youth. One of the things I remember doing, I guess you would call it parkour now. But when I was young, I would just go through the open fields, down into the woods, swing along the branches, jump over rocks, bounce around, jump over the creek, and I wouldn't give it a second thought,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And
Yeah.
I mean, when you're young, you just feel like nothing can stop you. There was this tree that was near the creek in this one place that we lived, and it was enormous. And if you got on one tree that was next to it, you get on its branches and then go over to the other branches, and you could go 20 and 30 feet up. And then you could swing on some of the branches. It was insane.
Yeah.
There was this one neighborhood we lived in, there was a creek that ran behind it. And we would swing on vines. They had these giant muscadine vines down in the woods. And we would swing back and forth over the creek in these things. And when you're young, you do stupid, stupid, stupid shit. Today I was writing something with the New York Times, and it reminded me of something I did when I was down in this one place. We were having dinner one night, and it's this room full of journalists and expats at this hotel, and all of a sudden, over everyone's chatter, gunshots ring out. Everybody pushes back from the table, runs for the vehicles, and chases down the street, running towards the gunfire. What the fuck was I thinking? And that's the night where I was with this bunch from NPR. And we get up close. And the military is in front of us. They're several blocks down. And there are bodies on the street. And the journalist has put the tape recorder out the window and is recording what the military is saying. and I'm in the back seat. There's a fixer in the front seat. The journalist is in the front seat. The fixer is driving. And so the military turns and starts heading towards us. I lean up and I poke Suni, the journalist, and I said, if you want to keep what you've recorded, put a blank in your recorder and give me the tape. And he pulled that switch and gave me the tape, and I put it down the front of my shorts. And they came over. What are you people doing here? Blah, 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 blah. You know? And we went back to the hotel. Soon he filed the story. He recorded it. This is back in the day when all we had were sat phones or direct lines. And he got on the phone from the hotel we were at. And he had written a script. And he said, tonight such and such happened. 10 people were shot dead. Military forces, blah, 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 blah. And he said, this is footage of, this is now the scene. And he made some kind of comment so that the people recording at NPR Studios would pause and they would amplify. And he played the thing from the tape. And he cut. He said, we're going to cut there. And I'm going to add in. And then he did a statement. He did a cut mark. And then he played the rest of the tape. And then he did a cut mark. And then he finished up his story for filing live. So the next morning, NPR had it to go out nationally. That there was, these 10 people were shot dead that night, you know? And I was thinking, it's cool. You know? Was it so cool when we showed up at a demonstration and there was like 5,000 people and some asshole shot and the whole place just stampeded, and that was not cool. But I was with the Atlantic reporter at that point, and that got a write-up because the driver got killed. But yeah, so it wasn't all cool. But it was a lot of stupidity done in youth. Adrenaline rush, adrenaline junkie.
I never done nothing. I never been nowhere, never done nothing.
You know, after I hear all your stories about all the stupid shit, like the cornfield incident, I'm like, I can't imagine being that completely out of it, you know?
Now,
Tell me about the cornfield.
I'm going to have to tell her, explain to her what the cornfield incident was. All right. I used to go to school. I basically got suspended on academic suspension from UGA. So I guess I dicked around for a little bit, but in order to get back into UGA, I had to go to a different institution, raise my grades up, and then reapply to get back in.
Humorously, it was the institution my sister had gone to because she couldn't get into anything.
So there's a religious school up the road in
An hour and a half away?
in Franklin Springs, which is a tiny little town about 45 minutes from here.
Is that all?
Yeah. So I would drive up there every day and go to classes, but I couldn't stand hanging around all day. So I would come back home, go back up there. Anyway, and I can't remember where I was working at the time. So I had that to do too, and also I was anyway. So I'm sleepy. I'm taking this route, going through Danielsville every day, and coming back home one day, I fell asleep. And when I came to, I'm rolling down this steep, steep hill into a cornfield. So now I know if I stop, the car is going to get stuck because the ground's a little bit muddy. So I just keep the gas pedal floored, and I'm driving blind through this cornfield, mowing down this random hazardous path. And finally, I pop out on these people's driveway, and I go right back up onto the road. Didn't miss a beat. Didn't stop 1 second.
Jesus.
It was horrible. It was terrifying. Except when I was back on the road, I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, Lord. You know, sometimes I'm amazed that you and I survived long enough to breed. How we didn't end up winning Darwin Awards, I don't fucking know. I mean, you nearly drowning, you know.
Yeah.
Me on a plane that didn't quite work correctly. I actually had a friend who had been on an early flight. His plane went down. He survived. He was a single pilot. It was a what do you call it? One of those things you build yourself. Yeah. He was an idiot.
Like, what do you call it? Was a kit? Is it
Yeah,
a plane or a
kit
glider?
plane. It was a kit plane. Yeah.
Yeah.
He had built it himself. And I'm like, why am I letting this guy put me on a plane?
Well,
He put me on this one plane. He said, okay, now the case I'm giving you acts as a flotation device. I went, what have you done?
all right. We have been recording for over an hour now.
You're kidding.
No. You're giving me the coughs, woman.
I'm sorry. It's
Anyway,
the dry air from the heat pump. I'm wondering if the heat pump's going to be able to keep up with the temperature tonight.
oh, it's going to be much warmer tonight.
I hope so.
Anyway,
It
all
was
right.
15 degrees when you got home this morning. The heat pump was struggling. We saying goodnight?
What?
Are we saying goodnight now?
Yeah, to the people listening to our
Yes.
program. Yes. So, good night, goodbye, and good night,
Good night.
and good luck.